Well, hello there. I gotta sew this pink alligator accent onto a bag later this evening for something. You know, it's kind of hard finding pink alligators in the wild. You don't run across them too very often. I should be laughing. Actually, this is a serious video. Before starting out this video, and they're always called like what's going on or what the heck's going on in the world, and I have a lot of people actually feed me info, and I'm really quite good, extremely good actually at weeding out the nonsense and then tinfoil hat, silliness. Not interested in discussing that. Interested in discussing facts, logic, and wisdom, having your head on a swivel, and having really good situational awareness. Really good situational awareness always gives someone the edge, undeniably and invariably so. I have to ask a question to you. Maybe it's a rhetorical question. Does anybody at this point in late 2023, you know, we're not talking about coof, and we're not talking about magic juice, at nearly October 2023, do you really think that like nothing's going on? I mean, is there anybody out there so completely oblivious, so completely myopic, so completely clueless that they just think, well, it's just we're in a little bit of an economic rut? Yeah, globally, sure. Actually, I know for a fact, because I've run into a few of them, some rather wealthy people. You know, they do their same routine. They like go to yoga, they mingle and have cocktails with their friends, they watch their same TV shows, they have their same little routine. They don't actually have to work a regular job. Some of them, I know a few of them myself, they've never worked a real job in their life. And they really are utterly oblivious. There's those types and the other people that basically just get up, go to work. It's just, I mean, what other than the rich folk that are isolated, how clueless would you have to be to think that, you know, everything's just, you know, it's a bit of an economic rut, there's nothing going on, and what's the Aussie saying for it? This is what the Aussies tell me. It's just this clueless Australian societal philosophical position. She'll be right, mate. Doesn't matter what it is. She'll be right. No worries, aye. Fair dinkum, aye. I know Aussies don't really talk like that. Well, some of them do. I run into a few that some of them do. I can actually feel it out there, the actual tension, and that's not existentially objective that I can provide you a graph or a chart on. But I know you can as well. I mean, it's almost on a weekly basis. You can feel it edging worse and worse. So let's actually get down to it. I don't know if you know this or not. This is only applicable to a few states now, but Berkey water filters, including the president of the company, the government has labeled silver, which is like one of the most healthy things for the human body, antibacterial, antimicrobial. The lining that's in the Berkey water filters says they've labeled now a pesticide. So in certain areas, certain filters are banned. I don't know if at all this is going to expand or not, but once you control the water, you're going to control water, food, money. This is also to an important point that's not on my list here. I'm sorry if I'm getting a slow start. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Certain points in society where, be it World War I or World War II, where things were in such turmoil in certain zones. And you could point some of these out. I can't think of, I may have been Czechoslovakia, some other countries. It was absolutely a necessity to have two different types of currency on. If you wanted to go somewhere or do something, buy food or things and stuff and whatnot. And we're reaching that now in Western society. I bought some parts. I bought 14 parts. And I paid for it with silver. So would you rather be paid in cash or would you rather, I don't know, I'd much rather have non-fiat currency. I paid the guy in silver. I got a way better deal than if I had paid cash and he had accepted cash. I mean, I just got him for a song. But I see us approaching that point, and a lot of people have the question, and I've asked myself this question endlessly too, what percentage of our savings do we want to put into non-fiat currency? I do not pretend to be any sort of advisor on that front at all. No way, no how do I pretend to. Absolutely not. But we are at that same point now, approaching very, very quickly. And that's not my position. This is a position of the most brilliant minds on earth on economics. I'm talking about people that are self-made men and women that are billionaires or mega millionaires. They're self-made. And everything's about asset diversification. But we're getting to that point very, very quickly, if we're not already, where it's necessary to have two different types of currency. Current U.S. paper currency is absolutely, positively, 100% going to collapse. This is a statistical fact, 92% of people, Western society, if not the world, I think it's just Western society, are cutting back on purchases. 92%. I don't know if you know this or not, by the way, the United States doesn't really make anything anymore. We make a few things, but not much, not like we used to. 81% are cutting down on food purchases. Now, I know I'm fat. You can make jokes about me buying too much food, but I mean, I thought I bought cheap food before. I'm even buying a cheaper grade of food. I can assure you of this 100%. I work 4 jobs. My house is paid for. My vehicle is paid for. I don't have a wife or kids, so my daily costs are quite low. And I've cut back on the quality of food that I buy. I mean, I was buying cheap junk before. I was never buying caviar and, ribeyes or filet mignon. I was never doing that. And even I've cut back. And someone like me with a house and car paid for, no wife, no kids, if I'm doing it, then oh my God, This is the worst time, by the way, this is for the Aussies, because the Aussies feed me a lot of information. The worst time in all of history to pay for rent in Australia. That's basically the same here in Western society too. I watched a video, by the way, on Canada. It was a very brilliant guy. He's a Canadian, and he's fled Canada. And it's an hour-and-a-half long video. And I thought I knew the horrors that were going on in Canada. It's actually way worse than I thought. It's a laundry list so long that I don't want to get into it. It would take multiple videos, but it's actually shocking. By the way, currently the average is, here in the United States, 33% of income goes towards home mortgage or rent. 33%, that's astronomically high. Everyone keeps talking about EMP. I don't think, unless it's the later stages, that is going to happen, because they would lose control of the narrative. And the gigantic propaganda machine that goes brrr, it spits out the propaganda, power goes off, then you can't have the useful fools watching, I call it the idiot box. Yeah, social media, the idiot box. Power goes off, the propaganda machine go stop. So I don't see that that's going to happen as far as people's power bills. Here's the stuff, and it's a chart, and I know you can't see it. One end goes this way, the other end goes that way. They're heading basically in opposite directions right now. I'll talk about that in a second. U.S. household debt hit 17.06 trillion, a 5% quarterly increase of credit card debt to the first time ever of well over $1 trillion. There's this chart, and it's an undeniable death spiral chart. One is savings. Savings are doing this number. We actually had a peak in savings at the start of 2019, 2020, because nobody was doing anything, and they weren't out, blowing money at restaurants and other doodads and things. I mean, that's understandable. But it has been in an absolute free fall since then. So people's spending is doing this number. And credit card debt and debt overall is doing this number. This is a death spiral chart. It cannot be read any other way. That combined with a few other things I'd like to mention here in a second. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but credit card debt, go look up what this is. Credit card debt is unsecured debt. Go look up what unsecured debt is. You can't live in your credit card. And a lot of people you know, and I don't tell people what to worry about, what not to worry about, but you can't live in your credit card. I just don't know if you know that or not. I just wanted to really mention it in passing because it's incredibly important. I'm extremely risk adverse. I mean, I've got like 6,000, a little over 6,000 cash liquid to my name. Got a bunch of property taxes coming up. Yeah, I know how evil property taxes are. Thank God they're really, really cheap. By the way, this house, for example, property taxes are $1,200 a year that I'm in. Very, very, very cheap. Decent house in a decent neighborhood. 3-bedroom, 1 bath. It's a brick house. Here's a little story. I don't know if you've heard this before. So there's 2 hikers come across a grizzly bear in the woods. Arrgh! One of the guys starts to run, and the other guys yell, "Are you crazy? You can't outrun the bear." I know you've heard this probably. And the guy that's running, he's out in front, not by far. And he says, "I don't have to be faster than the bear. I only have to be faster than you." And once peak misery hits and collapse happens vis-a-vis bricks, and the fact that credit card and household debt's doing this number, whereas saving is doing, literally, and I can show you this graph. You don't need to see it. You can look it up. Debt is like this. Savings are like this. They're both headed inverse directions to one another, fast as they can run. That's a death spiral. What bricks is actually doing on top of this, and I like to get this and say, it's just an absolute death spiral with a couple cliffs. It's just going to happen. There's no way out of this other than in the impossible, which is as bad or if not worse than a death spiral, which is either war or going on to digital currency. That's coffin nail. Digital currency is coffin nail. They can take your money, you have to spend it in 30 days, or if you don't spend it in 30 days, like on food, and then you don't have it. I don't think that'll actually ever fly here in the United States because we have this neat little thing in the Bill of Rights here in the United States, most important one being number 1 and number 2. The second being the one that protects the first. The second clause protects the first clause and the rest, by the way. I don't know if you know that or not. So once peak misery hits, just like the 2 hikers, the one guy says he doesn't have to outrun the bear, he has to outrun the other guy. Because that means, of course, the bear's going to get the other guy. People won't need as many supplies as they assume. You only have to get through a peak misery point and a period afterwards, just like the 2 hikers that are running from the bear. You don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your neighbors. No one that I know of has been talking about that. It's an important point to make. Australia admits that it's going to go functionally cashless by no later than 2025. I talked to a lot of Aussies. They confirmed to me that this is absolutely the truth. If you think that that is not coming to the United States, it's coming to Canada. You know that these are crown countries. Canada, New Zealand, the Kiwis, and the Aussies. The Aussies, the Kiwis, and the Canucks. It's absolutely undeniably happening there. It is going to happen here. That's actually the coffin nail. That's not my opinion or feeling or belief. It is a coffin nail. U.S., this is not my opinion. I'm not the one actually saying this right now. Rather, the best experts on earth are. U.S. Death spiral. There's absolutely no way out of this other than war, or complete and total collapse vis-a-vis either war and or central bank digital currency, which of course we have FedNow coin, which is our version of CBDC. U.S. trading partners are moving away from the U.S. dollar. Prices are skyrocketing. Inflation is spiraling out of control. Inflation is driving everyone, meaning our trading partners, out of the dollar, and bonds are inflating. We have 100% assurance of currency crisis and collapse. We have a death spiral on the U.S. dollar vis-a-vis insurance, federal inflation, our trading partners moving away from the dollar, and BRICS is planning the absolute perfect. And I can't stand doom and gloom. There's some of these channels, all they do is doom and gloom. Oh my God, the Earth is going to end next week, or oh no, comet's going to hit. I can't stand that stuff. This is not my version of that at all. I don't want any of this. You know, I'd rather work hard. My hand's still hard. I did a lot of leather work today before doing this video. I'd rather work hard. Actually, I wish I could take a day off every week, but I just had a vacation and I enjoyed it. And I'm still peeling, you know, from my sunburn. At least I had a real vacation thanks to my friend down in Florida. You know, I'm not a doom and gloomer. And once in a while I get a comment on these videos, oh, here's doom and gloom. I'm not interested in doom and gloom. I have no interest in that. I don't, you know, my fangs aren't dripping. Not that I have fangs, and I'm not, you know, wringing my hands for any of this. It's about being prepared and having situational awareness. So the Fed is going to keep printing money, and this is not me saying this once again, rather the best experts on earth, until the dollar collapses. Are they going to collapse it? Say, it's collapsed, now we need to fix this. There's two things. I don't know if they're going to use one or the other or both, but there's only two ways out, and we're seeing more and more of it almost on a daily basis. War and digital currency. Aussies and the Kiwis and the Canucks are getting digital currency. I don't know if we're going to get one or the other or both, but we are going to get a minimum of one, and the collapse is coming. The Fed keeps printing money. BRICS is going to make sure the U.S. dollar collapses. The United States isn't producing anything anymore, and our trading partners are moving away from the dollar. It is not backed by gold or silver anymore, and it hasn't for over 50 years. I'm sure you know that, obviously so. So the Fed is going to keep printing until the dollar does collapse. And that makes us once again ask the question, just like these different entities, countries in the past, if you were like Joe Schmo walking around the streets, and I can't remember which country and which war it was, you had to have two different types of currency on you. You had to have the real stuff that people wanted and the other stuff that certain entities would accept, and it depends on who it was. You can accept money, you know, this paper money, or are you going to accept silver or gold? There's other forms of currency too. There's stuff that's made out of lead, there's stuff that's made out of, that's liquid, and it will get you tipsy. All of that's always been a form of money. So has food. Skills, like, you know, if you give me that, I hate to see us go back to a trade. I mean, that creates a serious issue. My buddy, who's owner of multiple car dealerships, I think he owns 6 of them. He's a short old guy, he's filthy rich. He won't admit it, but the people that work for him, one in the parts guy, his exact words is the guy is pooping razor blades. Of course he's filthy rich, I mean, he should retire. But he loves to work, and he loves his business, but he can't get any inventory. You really, really have to be clueless and have zero situational awareness to think that nothing's going on after all these years. I mean, how ignorant do you have to be? Rich people are isolated. They're doing the same routine they've always done. I don't see any difference. That's because you've never worked a real job, doofus. There are people out there like this. And once again, America isn't producing anything anymore. The United States is hollowed out. Household income fell by 2.3% in 2022. People, I've asked so many people, including not every live stream, but quite a few live streams. I say, how close are you living on the edge? I've talked to a lot of people that have negative bank accounts. You know, the bank has already piled on the fees, like what do I want to do? Not only in the negative, but I have the fees or I'm overdrawn because they have automatic withdrawals for some of their utility bills. People are worse than living on the edge. And it's getting worse on a daily basis. I don't care what side the politician's on, I'm not listening to any of them because they're all ignorant. You know it and I know it. I can see what's going on out there. I can see it with my own 2 friggin' eyes. What's that old saying? Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Remember that old saying? Stop eating out. You know, I never eat out unless it's like some friend that comes in, they want to eat out. Like, fine, I'll go eat out. It's gotten gross now. I never liked to eat out because it was expensive and you could never rely on whether the place was clean or not. And now everybody has gotten into quiet quitting. And, you know, the food is gross, and, you know, it's just, things are spiraling out of control on many different fronts, and that's not my opinion or feeling or belief. I know it's true. You know it's true. I can see it. You can't get service anymore from anybody. Everybody knows subconsciously, if not consciously, exactly what the heck is going on. Actually, they can see what's going on, but they don't know the causation for what's going on. That requires a different level of intellect, which unfortunately a lot of people do not have. Get together with other people. Like if you want to like share a card, you know, one of the discount store cards, like, you know, I borrow it on Monday, Tuesday, you use it on Tuesday, Wednesday. I actually talked to a guy at Costco. They're now checking everybody's cards at the checkout, at least. And I said, why are you all doing this? It's just nonsense. I went to Costco today, too. And so everybody's borrowing everybody else's card. That's because everybody is broke. And they're buying in bulk to save money on the things that they eat all the time. Stop buying things that break, you know? Stop eating out. Stop buying things that break. Learn to work smarter rather than harder. You are going to have to make the decision on what percentage of your savings that you need to, just like the people back in the day. You know, had two currencies. You needed to have two currencies in certain times and certain locations. By the way, here's a story. This happened like 4 days ago. I was at Sam's Club. I don't know if you know what Sam's Club is. It's basically like Costco, except it's owned by Walmart. I have no love or respect for Walmart, right? Everybody talks about, you know, the folks at Walmart. You know, I know what people are talking about when they say that. This poor guy's an old guy. Shooting fireworks outside. He collapsed. He had like 6 or 7 Sam's Club workers around him. 3 of them were working on him. One's taking his blood pressure. The other one's propping his head up and looking after the guy. And whee, whee, you hear the ambulance coming. And of course, I couldn't do anything. He already had 6 people there. One of them was obviously medically trained. And so was I, but I'm not going to stick my head in there and help because he's already being helped. And that just makes a bad situation worse. And I thought, you know, whatever people say about Sam's Club, this poor guy, I don't know if he had a heart attack or, you know, something tragic. I don't know. When someone collapses at a Walmart or a Sam's Club, people are right there to help and call the ambulance. You know, if there was the same dude in the same proximity location to the entrance of Costco, same dude, same situation, I don't say this jokingly, I don't think the guy would have made it. People would have been like, yeah, it's not my problem. Yeah, no. I just had to add that at the end of this video because everybody will talk about the people at Walmart, and Sam's Club is Walmart. It's their bulk buying store. If you're a European, if you don't know what Sam's Club is, it's basically like Costco except it's owned by Walmart. Sam's Club, you got 6 people hovering around the guy doing everything they can to help him. If the same dude, I guarantee you this. I was telling people this in the live stream and they were laughing, not because it's funny, but because it's true. Same dude, old dude collapsed, handicapped parking spot which he was in. At Costco, yeah, it's not my problem. No, I ain't got time for this. I'm going to go get my bulk pack of cafe macchiato, half calf, decaf, no calf. And just as another note, the grocery store that is owned, I don't want to say the name of the grocery store, it's a whole lot of something, emphasis on whole. It's owned by the Zon and the Am. If the same dude collapsed there, that's the really, really overpriced grocery store that's not really a grocery store, where the hoity-toities, the people that sniff their own vapors that emanate out of their backside. If that same dude collapsed there, they would have found him cold. Maybe 2 days later, people would have been like, they wouldn't have even recognized it. They would actually have been on their phones. No one would have seen him. Everybody had been on their phones and been going in to get their $30 jar of spaghetti sauce and feeling so smug and superior to everybody else because they were shopping at the whole bleep. You know what grocery store I'm talking about. It's not really a grocery store. It's a place for people that think that they're superior but are the complete opposite of. Love to shop and spend a lot of money unnecessarily. Yeah. I don't know what you think about that, but it's an interesting observation that's true. Things are getting worse. Collapse is coming. The US dollar is going to collapse. And for all the Europeans that want to see that happen, I will remind you that whatever you think of the United States, your country has a rope on the bottom of it at its feet where, your country's treading water. somewhere there and you're laughing and pointing your finger at the United States, when it goes down, I guarantee you there's a number of ropes that are tied from your country's feet in the water to the United States. So when the United States does that number and you go, yay, I couldn't wait for that to happen, it will bring your country down too. So there is a no-win situation here for those of you in Europe and Russia or other places, wherever it is, that are applauding the collapse of Western society, because it ain't going to do you any good at all. It was going to do you exactly the opposite of any good. And of that, I'm 200% certain. Tell me what you think. I love reading your comments on this, especially interesting information. Oh, by the way, that country, people told me there's no way that's true. No way! Except it's 100% true. That country it's run by the short little guy with the black beard, you know, starts with the UK. I got to be careful what I say. He just named ambassador to that country. You know, the one that the United States has been sending lots and lots and lots and lots of money to. He just named his ambassador to his country High Priestess of Mr. Satan. I'm going to use the word, I'm going to misspeak the word. High Priestess of the religion that praises Satan. You know, you do a Sharpie marker and draw some horns on my head. Can you believe that? That's true, by the way. I don't know what you think about that. Don't you find that interesting? Of all the people you could name as ambassador to that country, it's like you're going to pick, yeah. Go look that up, by the way, if you don't believe me, because it's true. Have a good one.